Hi, Austin. Welcome to the PowerTalk Show powered by Business Talks Weekly. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and joining our channel today. Before we dive into a conversation, can you tell us a bit about your professional background and what led to the creation of Flywheel Financial?
Yeah, Navin, super excited to be here. Appreciate you having me on. Yeah, so really, I tell a lot of people I have to dive into the deep end to really understand things that I enjoy and things that I don't enjoy. And so I have a lot of just massive different experiences over the past 15 years, anything from working on a cattle ranch to buying and selling options, trading options in the stock market, to working for a landscape company for a while, to really understand like acquisitions and purchasing companies that ultimately led me into Flywheel Financial. So Flywheel really was created from I joined together with a good friend of mine that was actually running a fractional CFO accounting service, specifically in the property management space, and joined him to help him build the business and kind of build the company. And fell in love with the business model. I always knew I kind of wanted to run my own business one day. And a few years after working with him, kind of just put the bug in his ear to say, hey, look, if you ever want to sell this business, I'd love to buy the business. And yeah, a couple months later, we actually had a conversation about it. And then in May of 2023, ended up buying that business, rebranding to Flywheel Financial. And since then, we've just kind of grown into lots of service based industries to do accounting work and fractional CFO work for these guys to really help them get to the next level in their finances. So that's
Oh,
kind of the short version of getting into Flywheel Financial.
yeah, that's a wonderful story actually. So can you tell us brief about, what kind of services are you currently providing and who are you targeting?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we realize is tons of business owners get into business and they don't necessarily love accounting or love spreadsheets or love finances or trying to figure out the cash flow issues. They get into business because they're really good with people or building a team or a specific skill set of what they want to go into. And so we've kind of found this niche to say, look, why don't we handle 100% of the things that you hate doing, which is the accounting and the number side of it, so you can focus on the things that you really enjoy and are really good at doing in the business world. So we try to handle everything underneath an accounting department umbrella, basically, whether it's producing financials every single month or going in and having issues with payroll or paying bills every week or figuring out metrics that are actually going to like drive your company forward based on financial metrics of your company. We kind of do all of that and handle 100% of the admin and accounting work so that these small business owners can go do what they're really good at to drive their business forward.
Austin, can you tell me, like, when it comes to accounting and fractional CFO, you get to see the numbers that the business is actually running and driving. How does confidentiality and security, how does it work between you and the party?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are very, very particular in how we set things up from the get-go when we partner with these small business owners. So everything we do is read only. So we never have the ability to transfer money from any of these guys. We have no access to their cash, right? So there's no way we can possibly, steal anything from them. And then on the flip side is when we do run bill pay or things that we're trying to take off of their plate to really provide that service for them, everything is gone through compliant third-party services that also have an approval process for that particular owner that we're working with. So I'll give you a perfect example. We run bills every Friday for most of our clients. We pay bills on their behalf. We have an entire approval process of collecting information from their business to understand exactly what needs to be paid. We have access to see what their bank balances look like so we can go in and not overdraft their accounts or anything that we're trying to pay bills for them on their behalf. But every bill that we pay has to be approved by the owner itself before we can actually go in and process that bill. So there's a whole audit trail of how our process happens to make sure that we're never doing anything that's not fully approved by the owner to go do, but then also making sure that we're compliant in a way that we have no access to do anything outside of what is approved and what we're instructed to go do on behalf of their company. So we use 100% of our work happens inside of QuickBooks Online. So everything happens through that access and that compliance program that works through that software. And then for bill pay, we use everything through bill.com, which is another kind of biggest in the industry platform of processing bills on these clients' behalf. And so we really leverage basically those platforms to provide the security, and we set things up correctly from the get-go to make sure there's never an issue from a standpoint of, is there any chance of fraud or anything like that in the financial department that we're doing for these these business owners.
That's wonderful. Austin, I would like to get your perspective on, on one hand, there's everybody say like it's economic slowdown, there's Trump tariffs, there's war in some parts of the world. What do you see? How is the business world taking shape, and where do you see what is going to happen in the next 3, 5 years? Where is the next spike going to happen?
Yeah, that's a great question, Navin. I think so. In our niche, we focus specifically on service based businesses in the United States. And that window is typically businesses between a million in revenue up to about 10 million in revenue. And so that's kind of our sweet spot of where we operate. And so the question you kind of bring in from tariffs and different things that are going on in the world doesn't necessarily apply a ton to kind of our niche small business owner of what they're operating in locally in the community that they're in that 1 million to 10 million range of what they're doing. But what I will say is that, really looking forward into the future, I don't see anything necessarily scary for small business owners when they're operating in the lens of if they have the cash and they have the margin, which we help them create, right? When they have the cash and they have the margin to get through stormy seasons or something like COVID happened 5 years ago, where they do have the cash available to go through storms or seasons of their business that look like storms. When we help them create that, then there's no reason that they can't continue to operate for decades, right? And so really from an economic standpoint, I'm not too worried about our unique niche of small businesses and the way that they operate for decades to come. If they can continue to make sure that they're creating margin in their business and understanding the financials of their business to operate in a way that create success for their vision that they have for that business.
Makes sense. Austin, there's so much going on around AI, and even fintech is evolving. What do you see? How is the industry going to take shape when it comes to AI and with fintech already their position in the market?
Yeah, excellent question. That's probably the biggest, to me, that's a much bigger concern about how small business owners are evolving, much more than worries about what the economy is going to do over the next 5 to 10 years. So, from our standpoint, I'm trying to model this in our business as we kind of talk to business owners about how they're modeling it in their business by leveraging AI to the best of our ability, right? And so we meet every single month as a company, our team internally does. And so we discuss, okay, how are we currently activating AI, prompting AI, leveraging the technology that's out there to make each of our roles better in what we're doing for the company? Because what I've heard time and time again is AI will not replace people. AI will replace people that don't leverage AI, right? And so there's always going to be this human element of creativity that goes into solving problems for people that ultimately create value that creates this business, right? And so, but the things that I'm trying to coach our team on, and everybody's typically on board for what we're doing, is you have to be growth minded. And when you're growth minded, you don't want to be doing repetitive, mind numbing tasks that a machine could potentially do for you, because it opens your capacity to do more of the things that you're adding the most value to the role of the unique position that you're in. I think everybody needs to think that way, whether you're a business owner or you're a frontline worker. You're thinking that way to say, like, how am I providing the most value, the most impact for the unique position that I'm in? And how can I leverage technology to help me do less of the things that I don't need to be doing, or to do more of the things I do need to be doing, right? And so we have these discussions inside of our team every single month to have those conversations of how we're leveraging AI, and then having that same conversations with business owners as well to say, listen, this is not something that's going to go away. The best way I can correlate it to a lot of people is it's like us being in the early 80s before the internet was a big thing, right? It's like no one knew what the internet could potentially do in 2020 versus the way that looked out in 1980, right? Where all you saw was emails and maybe a better way to communicate. But AI is the same thing. We're at the tip of the iceberg to say we can't quite grasp the things that it's going to eventually be able to do for us. So we have to get on board to start leveraging it now to learn and be a part of that growth curve to really do what's best for our clients to serve them in the best ways possible. And the last thing I'll mention there is if you think about just the nature of any business, every business is ultimately ripe for the picking with AI, certain parts of those businesses. Accounting specifically, the world that we're in, very much so, because it's repetitive tasks every single month. So I'm the first to say, listen, we're going to leverage the heck out of it. I think we can grow massively even with our current core team that we have now, because we can start leveraging more and more of these automations and things that AI can do, that a machine can do, that we no longer have to do to click buttons to do things behind the computer to make sure that we're closing the books. So it's an exciting time to be alive now. And I'm like fired up about the world that we're walking into with AI.
Absolutely. And that's interesting, Austin, because that brings me to another question. Would you recommend putting the business and financial information to AI to get the answers? Because, if you put your financial information out there, it might be used into a different data sets by different other LLM models as well. What would you recommend? What is a safe practice?
Yeah, great question. So we use ChatGPT, and there's different versions of ChatGPT, right? So you have the free version that a lot of people just can go get on their phone for free, all the way up until like a very high paid per month version that they have. Each version has a standard compliance format to it that allows ChatGPT to share or not share certain versions of what you're asking it or inputting into the system. So there are SOC 2 compliant processes inside of certain versions of ChatGPT. But from our standpoint, we are not putting in raw financial data for our clients into that system because we're not, to me, in my opinion, we're not quite there yet where I fully trust, you know, inputting that information into this chat GPT world. I think eventually it'll 100% get there. But at least right now, we're trying to leverage it more for specific tasks to go in and complete certain things on our behalf, not necessarily doing like full financial analysis by importing all of the data from one company into this thing to understand, to give us the reviews and the analysis that our team's currently doing to really coach our clients up on the best ways to make more profit. So that's kind of my position right now. I think it's just a matter of time until we get to that point. But at least right now, I'm trying to be pretty careful with what we're putting in and what we're not putting into that format.
Austin, what is your vision? Where are you looking at for the next 3, 5 years?
Yeah, I love it. So we are really want to be the financial partner for service-based small businesses between 1 million and 10 million in revenue. And so that vision is just continuing to grow into every service-based industry where we can serve them by doing the things that they never got in business originally to get in business to go do, right? So we become that financial partner. So not only do we take over all the admin and accounting for these service-based business owners, we also become a partner in their life where we're truly helping them improve to become more profitable in their business. So if you think about business, the reality of it is that the ultimate scoreboard of any business is the financial metrics of that business, right? And because we have the ability to create those on their behalf inside of their business, now we can understand them and help coach them up to say, if you really want to win in this game of business, let's analyze what your financial metrics are, which are the scoreboard of your business, and let's really figure out how do we win in your unique industry and who the people that you're serving to create the highest profit margins you can possibly make inside of this world that you're tackling. So really the vision is to try to impact as many business owners as we can. And the heart behind it, I'll add one more thing now. I apologize, I'm a talker, but the heart behind that is that if we have the ability through the lens of accounting to impact business owners, then those business owners all have they steward people that come into their business, that come into work, whether it's to pay their bills, to provide for their family, or whatever it is. They're stewarding a group of people that create their business. So when we have the ability to impact those business owners have the ability to impact everybody that comes in the walls of their doors, whether it's clients or team members, that ultimately allow those guys to go back home and change the families that they're living in, that ultimately change the communities that they live in. So what's fun for me is I think through, well, if we can provide excellent services in the lens of accounting to really provide value to these owners, then that has the ability to spark this spiderweb effect where a business owner is affected for the good of us helping them create more margin and become healthier as a business. That business creates healthier families because families have to come in to be supported by that business. And then those families go home to create healthier communities because everybody lives in the community that they live in. And so it's just massive spiderweb effect that I just want to impact as many people as we possibly can.
Very interesting and good luck with that, Austin. One
Appreciate it.
final question, Austin. As you are the finance guy, what is the best piece of financial advice you have ever received?
That's great. I love that question. Man, there's so many different pieces that you could go in, but I think the best advice we've ever gotten is creativity happens when there's margin in your life. And so businesses that fail to operate with margin, so like that are able to create profits and create the ability to like have that margin in their business, they lack creativity because they're really just burning the candle at both ends, right? They're just trying to just get by month after month after month just to make cash flow happen. And it's really hard to have the impact that you want to have from a business standpoint if you don't have the margin in your business to get creative, to go provide better services and products to your customers, right? And so margin really is the catalyst behind all of that. I've heard it said time and time again that profit is fuel for business. And the reason it's fuel because it gives you the power to get creative, to grow. And if you don't have that margin, it's near impossible to have the fuel for growth. And so you have to figure out a way early on. Doesn't matter what stage of business you're in, you really have to find the way, ability to be profitable as early as possible to create the margin to fuel your growth.
Absolutely spoken like a financial guy. Austin, thank you so much. It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Navin, for having me. I really appreciate it.